in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. I really love interviewing women who help women because women need help. I mean, men need help, of course, but it seems like that there is so much potential locked up in women. And I just love interviewing and talking with people who really specialize in helping women to make deeper connections with themselves and with their relationships and tie all that into a business. And that's what it's all about, building the business you need so that you can live the life you want. So I'm really happy to introduce Melisa Keenan. She is a self-expression and intimacy coach. She's also a mompreneur, so she knows what she's talking about. She helps women who are experiencing emptiness in their relationships to claim connection and joy as their divine birthright. Melisa focuses heavily on relationship with self, and she guides women to their own divine gifts to experience fulfillment in all areas of their life through full self-expression. Melisa, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Hi, Ralph. Thank you.
And we were chatting off air, getting acquainted, and I understand that you are joining us from Nevada.
Yes, Nevada.
Nevada. It all depends, right? I say Nevada, Nirvana, Nevada. Anyway. Well, it's nice to connect with you. And like I said, I'm a bit envious when I interview coaches that only work with women or predominantly work with women because they're so great. And I think, well, I'm not a woman, so I have to take what I can get in the interview and see if I can't apply it to my life. But you work with women. You help them to find their full self-expression. And I wanted to dig into that with you a little bit more. But before we get there, first tell us how you got started as a mompreneur and what got you interested in self-expression and helping people with intimacy.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a mom of 4 kids, ages 9 and under. And my husband is a high school teacher. So, you know, we live a pretty simple life and my family means everything to me. But I've always really dreamed of changing the world. I can remember when I was in 2nd grade reading a book about Mother Teresa, and I was like, I'm going to be Mother Teresa when I grow up.
So you set a high goal right there in the beginning, huh?
Yeah. So I, you know, at about the 5-year mark in our marriage, I was pregnant with our 3rd child, and I was hustling hard to keep up the game of look at us, we're perfect. That was really important to me to have our family, you know, be perfect. And our marriage all of a sudden was hit with a major bomb. Mm. And I found out there had been 5 years of lies and distrust and betrayal. And what followed was a 6-month separation. My husband and I separated. He moved out and I had a brand new baby. She was 2 weeks old. So I had 3 kids, ages 4 and under. And I couldn't pretend anymore that things were fine. Our marriage was literally dangling by a thread. And I was in total shock and fear because everything I had put my whole being into was now crumbling to pieces. And I spent most of that 6 months crying on my bathroom floor. But it was in the several years that followed that I began to heal and find a loving relationship with myself. I just became desperate for like true, deep, and authentic peace at any cost, no matter how stupid I looked. and I was really guarded because of the offenses between my husband and I. But a little at a time, I let my walls down. I began to learn that I could really love myself just as I am. And my marriage, began to mend. But really this understanding of loving myself just as I am changed everything. So, my husband changed a lot too and became like the trustworthy man that I thought I married in the first place. But for many years, it didn't really matter. I was still miserable because I hadn't learned to trust myself. So doing my own healing was so crucial in our happiness and the happiness of our family. And when I did that, I became a present and connected mother to my children. My husband and I have found layers of intimacy and connection that we didn't even know existed. Like that was not modeled for us.
Right.
And now we have comfort in each other and even growth and expansion with each other because we each have our own personal foundation in ourselves. So this is what, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say what a great thing you bring up, that most married couples aren't taught how to be married. They're not taught intimacy. They're not taught relationships or making deep connections. It's just, well, we fall in love, we get married, and it's just kind of, okay, happily ever after, but that doesn't always work out that way, does it?
Right, exactly. And I think that we both thought that marriage meant that we were going to be the puzzle piece to our own brokenness, each other. It was like he's going to fulfill parts of me that I can't figure out, and vice versa. And then when we couldn't meet those expectations, because truly another person cannot do that for you. So when we couldn't meet those expectations, we were in constant disharmony with each other. It was like setting both of us up for failure over and over and over until we finally started filling our own cups and meeting our own needs. Then we could just choose each other because we like each other and we want each other.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a different way of looking at relationships. A lot of the times we'll look at a relationship in terms of what do I get out of it? And that's kind of a self-sabotaging, impossible expectation that you're putting up for the other person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So as I got grounded in myself, that's when I really started to realize this is what women need. We show up every day in our families just like guarded. We've been hurt. We're frazzled. We're overwhelmed. And we're just looking for the next opportunity to check out of our lives because the chaos and pain of life is just too much. Yeah. But really, as women, we have the ability within us to be the container for all of it, to just allow life to flow through us. But it does take work. It takes some retraining and it takes proper guidance to be able to show up in our radiance and experience the joy that, as you said, I deeply believe joy is our birthright. So now I've invested the last year of my life and over $15,000 in certifying and continuing education to be able to effectively and professionally support women in this transformation for themselves. It doesn't have to take years the way that it did for me. I did it all just putting puzzle pieces together, trying to figure it out. But now I can show up for people and help them to get these transformations in their life. It doesn't have to take years.
Well, that's really encouraging because, quite frankly, most people don't have years, so that they've got days or weeks, and so you've done a lot of the hard work. You working together with your husband, you've brought your marriage back from the brink, and now you're helping to liberate women all over the country. So that's really exciting. Tell us a little bit more about what that means. What does it mean to be a self-expression and intimacy coach, and who are the people that you help on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, I work with women of a lot of different backgrounds, but generally women who really want to experience intimacy and joy and fulfillment in their lives and their relationships, but they've been hurt. They have lots of walls of reservation up that prevent them from deeply connecting to their children, their spouse, God, or even to themselves. So what I do is I support women to just step out of hiding, and they really go into their own hearts to find the answers. I mean, lots of people have advice nowadays. I mean, all you have to do is type something into Google and you could get lots of different kinds of advice.
Yeah. And not all of it is good, is it?
Right. Exactly. It can be overwhelming. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? So what my role is to support women back to the answers that are already within them. And I deeply believe that the answers are already within us. It's just a matter, we've disconnected from ourselves. So it's bringing that back and then beginning to form a relationship of trust with ourselves. Wonderful.
So does that contribute to the problem when someone has these unresolved issues? Well, let's say your client has an unresolved issue in terms of their identity or their relationship with their self. And like you say, they try to find that fulfillment in the partner, and then the partner is not able to fulfill that or doesn't realize that they're supposed to be fulfilling that. And so that creates a lot of tension and conflict. Do you work with both sides of the relationship, or are you working with the woman and transforming her? How does that work? If marriage is the complaint that she's coming to you with?
Yeah, I really only work with the women right now. I haven't branched out to working with the men yet, but it's interesting because a lot of times people don't know this is their problem. No one has ever come to me yet and said, I'm so disconnected from myself and it's causing a lot of disharmony in my life.
Right. Yeah, they don't know what they don't know, and that's
exactly.
They're coming to you probably, I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, they probably come with you complaining about the other person as being the issue. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they come with their circumstances, and it's like, this is my problem. And so it's my job to help. See, the problem with that is when your happiness depends upon everything around you changing or being different than what it is, that leaves you no other position besides the role of victim. Yeah. And when you're in the role of victim to your circumstances, you cannot change anything. Like, it's a hopeless situation. I'm the victim. Everyone else is the persecutors, and I can't do anything about that. So when I coach with women, it's like helping them to see that you can do something about yourself. You can do something about the way you show up in the situation. And this is the problem. It's being disconnected from yourself. If you can get reconnected to yourself, I can help empower you so that you're no longer in the victim role. It will become much more clear how to handle all these situations when you have a firm foundation in yourself.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Would you say that not being connected with themselves is probably the biggest problem you see with the people that you're trying to help?
Yes, definitely.
So how do you begin? I mean, when someone is lost and they've lost their identity, or they never found it, or they're trying to get to the bottom of who they really are, what do you say to them? How do you help them to get from where they are to where they want to be?
Yeah, the very first step is to just notice your discomfort and slow down when you notice it. Most of us, we're in such a fast-paced, world. It's like, I'm uncomfortable. I need to run faster and avoid it.
You know what? That's exactly right. That's what most people do. Just more activity and never getting to the bottom of any resolution of anything. Yeah. So our discomfort, especially emotional or internal kind of discomfort, shows up as an alarm for us. It's a gift. It's a little signal that says, hey, something's amiss right now and I need something to change. Pay attention. And so that's what we do. We slow down, notice it. The next step is to just allow and accept your feelings about the situation. So this isn't the same thing as acting on your emotions, because of course, if you're angry, that might cause you to do things you might bring poor consequences. But it is just making space to feel the feelings, even noticing how it shows up, the discomfort in your physical body.
sitting with those feelings and honoring and validating them, because our feelings are actually a roadmap that just guide us to understanding what's really important to us.
I like what you said there, and it's really important to highlight this. I think first step is awareness, and then the second is acceptance. A lot of people, they try to pretend like they're actually not feeling what they're feeling, but then they feel guilty for feeling that way.
Yep.
Like, that they feel guilty because in this situation we're talking about, she feels guilty that she's not joyful and happy when her husband comes home, or when the kids need something done, that she can't accept that she's tired, or that she's stressed out, or that she needs a break, or that she needs help. And so
exactly.
that's a tremendous thing to go from just awareness of discomfort to then saying, you know what, it's okay for me to feel stressed out because I'm in a situation where normal people would be stressed out.
Right. That's right. Yep. And a huge benefit inside of this is recognizing that, or maybe an encouragement. It's not just pointless feeling discomfort. It's not just like, well, great, now I'm going to go cry for 5 days or whatever. Like, we're not talking about that. The thing is our feelings, again, are a gift, and they show up as a roadmap or a guide to what's really important to us. So the next step is I coach my clients to consult themselves, asking, what is missing for me in this situation? And, I give them a little tool. It's a list of values-based words. And they go into just identifying, like, wow, okay, why is this so upsetting to me? What do I really want in this situation that I'm not getting right now? And then the final piece is, once they realize it, they can take action to create what they want in their lives. And so again, it's taking you out of the victim, like, I have no choice. This is just the way things are. I'm not good enough. I can't meet these demands. To now going, okay, I'm uncomfortable because something's missing for me, and I'm going to do something about it.
Wow. That's very powerful. And I know somebody could be listening to this thinking, well, that's pretty simple. Yeah, but just because it's simple doesn't mean that you're practicing it like you ought to. And I think
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, and so I can also take this process, awareness, acceptance, ask, and take action. Same thing with business. I mean, this is a cognitive roadmap to figure out why things in your life aren't going the way you feel like they ought to go. And so you can apply this to business, to relationships, to anything, but it empowers people to not be the victim and to actually kind of look at their situation and start thinking about it and taking proactive steps to creating the relationships they want and the life that they want, or anything else that they want. But it's all about empowerment, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. And this is just, of course, a tiny piece of what I do. I mean, life is so complicated, and we don't realize how often we think we're making conscious choices. We don't realize how often we're in the victim position, just running on autopilot. So it's a practice of really uncovering, who am I? What is important to me? And then from that space, you can do anything. So it's so neat, because I've had clients go from suicidal tendencies or hard time getting out of bed every day and just hiding under the covers, to creating, healing dance programs, or scheduling her gastric bypass surgery that she'd been putting off for years. I mean, once you get in that empowered state, it's like, sky's the limit. What have I been missing out on? It's like they wake up finally.
Yeah. It kind of creates some real positive momentum to overcome that default inertia that we've been kind of living in for however long. And I wanted to ask you too, do you think that with women, especially, the gender roles that we accept and that women accept make it even more difficult? Because I think a lot of women are programmed just to kind of accept whatever the husband's needs are, whatever the children's needs are. and I speak from the experience of my own wife. Okay. So I'm not a gal, but I understand how they think because I've been married and I've raised 2 of them. So, I think it's even more difficult for women because their gender roles traditionally have been to basically support everybody else and everything else and put their own self-care on the back burner. And they never get around to taking care of themselves.
That's so true. And it's that whole, I mean, how many times have we heard this? You know, you put your oxygen mask on first so that you can reach over and put it on the people around you. And that couldn't be more true. And as a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids, I had to learn that like firsthand. It was like, I am literally dying, starving of oxygen. And I'm finally like, where's my oxygen mask? And most of the women that I work with have to get to some level of that, almost like a rock bottom, before they realize, you know what? Yes, I am going to do this.
That makes a lot of sense, and that really is a useful illustration to kind of underscore the challenge here of making sure that you are taking care of yourself so that you can help other people and meet the needs of the people in your life, and including your children, and balancing everything else that you've got going on. So you gave us a simple 4-step process for self-help. How would working with you on a more long-term basis really help to improve people's chances for success here?
I gave some of those examples about a couple of my clients, but even on a maybe a smaller, quote unquote, smaller scale, I had a client who came to me who she said, you know what, my life is so amazing. We live right on the beach. My husband has created an amazing life for us. I'm a stay-at-home mom. We weren't able to have children, and we were able to have this baby through in vitro, and I'm so blessed. And yet I'm so unhappy all the time, and I'm always resentful of my husband, and I just can't understand what's going on with me, right? So she comes to me and she's just like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm like sabotaging the American dream. and so as we got to working together, it took a few sessions for her to finally open up, and she ended up sharing with me that she and her husband had not experienced physical intimacy together in over a year. They couldn't even talk about it. There was no communication there, and when they brought it up, there was shame, there was defensiveness, there was blaming. And these are the kinds of things that make us tick, that we can't just go out and say, right?
Yeah.
But after working with me for some time, and she's created this foundation of support for herself, she's identified, ways that she was being so cruel to herself, and identified, self-compassion tools, and really started to form this foundation of trust with herself. And now her and her husband are intimate weekly, and they're like thriving, and she's finally able to do the things that she was already doing, go to the Bahamas or whatever, but actually experience the joy that was right there available to her. I think that's such a perfect illustration of this principle, that it actually is not our circumstances. Like, we could be in the best of circumstances or the worst of circumstances, like my client who was suicidal, who then turned around and, scheduled a gastric bypass surgery and found self-love or whatever. Like, it really comes back to our connection with ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. That's what a great story, and how it illustrates that you can have success. People define success in many different ways, but a lack of success in one very important area will not make up for your success in other areas of life. You've got to look at everything, don't you?
Yeah. Yep.
So, Melisa, what are you working on right now that's got you really excited that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh, thank you for asking. So I've created a group program that's called Step Out of Hiding, Unleash Your Heart. And it's so much power packed into 6 weeks. It supports women to empower themselves, find self-compassion, debunk limiting beliefs. And then with the momentum of the other women in the group with them, they create what they individually want in their lives. It's so powerful and juicy. I've run one group so far, and it's amazing. I had one woman who she was like, she knew that this was what she wanted, and she was literally paying for it with her blood. She would go and get her plasma drawn, and that's how she paid for the course. I know. I was so humbled, like, wow. And watching her transformation, it makes me emotional. It was just like, yes, like, let's get these women back in the driver's seats of their lives so they can have the joy and fulfillment that they want.
I love that.
And I'm enrolling women right now into this group, and I only allow 10 women per group to maintain that intimacy. So, yeah.
What a great idea. So if someone is listening and you're not sure about the one-on-one coaching or whatever, here's a great way to get started with a group process where Melisa can work with you and can begin to create those transformative shifts. Melisa, your website is melisakeenan.com.
Yep.
Is that correct? And
yeah,
we'll have that link on the website. It's 1L. It's Melisa with 1L. Keenan.
1L, 1S.
1L, 1S. But we'll have that on our website as well. But it's melisakeenan.com. I encourage our listeners to go check her out and check out that group coaching program as well. Melisa, this has really been inspirational. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners before we say goodbye?
Sure. I think to just repeat that as long as we allow our circumstances to define us, to be the big problem that needs fixing, we will not experience change because we are in a position of being a victim to our circumstances. When we commit instead to a loving relationship with ourselves, we automatically empower ourselves out of the victim seat. And I just love, there's one quote that I actually have memorized. Well, I'll paraphrase, by Marianne Williamson. And she says, our greatest fear, this couldn't be more true for women. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We think, who am I to be gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? But who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. As you let your own light shine, you automatically liberate others to do the same. I just love that quote. And I've seen so many women do that very thing. They've finally faced that fear of their own greatness, and they just step into who they really are, and miracles happen. All of a sudden, their circumstances do change because they've changed.
Powerful words of wisdom from Melisa Keenan. She is a self-expression and intimacy coach. She's a mompreneur. She helps women to, fall in love with themselves again. She focuses heavily on relationship with self, and she guides women to their own divine gifts to experience fulfillment in all areas of their life through full self-expression. Find out more at melisakeenan.com. Melisa, it has been a real pleasure to get to know you. Thank you so much for your work and for sharing your wisdom with us today on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ralph. This has been a great time.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.